Hello, welcome to CTE Do It Again. It's been a while since the last video, and just wanted to address one situation. I am filming in a bar, and this is kind of dubbed over because I don't have the ability to pretty much speak while I'm playing because of the noise background. So just bear with me as much as you can because, again, this is dubbed afterward, and that's the way it is. It's unfortunate, but unfortunately I don't have a good situation on that side. So getting back to CTE, I have a number of shots going on this tape, and it even includes some of the other fractional systems. There is a system called Touch of Insight by Wiley, which someone pointed out to me, which is kind of a different concept. It's actually aiming only at the cue ball and not at the object ball at all. And it's kind of broken up into several different lines, and I'll kind of go over it a little bit in a couple of the videos after this. In any case, CTE is still the fundamental aiming system. There are a lot of other systems out there which I don't really agree with, and everything from Shane Van Voning's Feral system to some of the other systems that you may have seen, which talks about shadows and all kinds of different things. There's no question that CTE is the fundamental. So here I am showing you again the basics. This is kind of a ball with three lines, as you can see. So each line represents an aiming line. So it's 15, 30, and 45 degrees with a 1/8 marker. These are aim lines. So the aim lines basically consist of the angle to the pocket. So if it's a 15-degree angle, you're just going to shoot accordingly, whether it be an A or a C. If it's a 30-degree angle, you're going to shoot the middle line. That means you're going to aim from the cue ball with a half-tip offset, aiming at one of these lines. For strong cuts, there is a 1/8 marker on both sides of that ball. There are some other things that you have to know, but as you can see, here's the ball broken up again, 15, 30, and 45 degrees. Now the A, B, and C is always facing you, although you can actually let them face the pocket. Try the differences, see which one is better for yourself. I like to have the aim lines facing the pocket, and that's the way I like to shoot. The 1/8 marker is on both sides for deep cuts, but you have to really put the ball on the table and kind of visualize it. So when I aim, I'm aiming at the cue ball to these lines using a half-tip offset, whether it be left side of the center of cue ball or the right side, aiming at one of these lines based on the angle of the ball to the pocket, that's the object ball to the pocket, and then aiming at these lines, shifting over to center cue ball, and then shooting. It always seems to work. The only time when you do miss is when you're visualizing, let's say, a 15-degree shot that's not as 15 degree, maybe a 30 shot or vice versa, and that's going to get you into trouble. So after a while, you kind of get acclimated into the angles. For a beginner, it's a little tougher, of course, because she's just not used to those kind of angles, and which represents 15, 30, or 45 degrees. There are some other areas that you could also help out. This is the bridge hand to the object ball distance. So take a look. It also represents what you should use in terms of the distance from the distance of your object ball to the cue ball. So keep in mind that if it's a short shot, keep it close. I like to use between 5 and 7 inches almost on all shots, but again, it does vary. What I'm suggesting also is the stance is very important. Your left leg should be behind the cue ball. Your body should be angling in back of the left leg, so there's some leeway in terms of moving your arm, which should be like a pendulum. You shouldn't do a kind of a wing kind of motion. Your backhand should be level and should be just up and down as a pendulum, just like the elbow works. So if you're moving your elbow to side, it's not a good thing. Of course, your bridge hand has to be solid on the table, and that's kind of fundamental with any system, whether we use this system or any others. But the most important thing is the stance. Most people just don't stand correctly, and that's why they miss. So make sure, if you can, watch a couple of videos that's out there. I would suggest Mark Wilson. He's on YouTube. Check his video out, and you'll see how you should stand. He has, I think, 3 videos based on just standing, and he even teaches some of the pros. Let's get started. We have a lot of shots coming up, so I'll just go through it fast. Most of these shots are basically B shots. So I'm aiming from the right side of the cue ball, pivoting it over to the B, and just hitting them in. Once you start with this, it's pretty much free-flowing. You kind of get used to the angles, you get used to the shot, and since I'm close to the object ball, without aiming for it, it's relatively easy. Here's a spot shot. So if you look at this, I'm looking at the A going into the corner, closest to the screen, and putting it into the corner. This is something that you just get on the table, aiming for the spot. Of course, you aim for that A, pivot over to the center cue ball, and just drill it in. It's not very difficult once you start moving along and getting the handle on where the A is. But you could set up, and you could get these kind of shots in relatively easy. Try to use the same speed, angle. Of course, when you start using a little bit of more English, it does vary the shot, so keep the English down as much as you can. Of course, you could go follow up or draw back no matter what, but English does take an effect. Here's a shot that's kind of in the center table. The cue ball is on the spot, and I'm going to hit that ball in the A, put it right in the corner. Same shot. Here's a 6-ball coming my way. This is kind of a relatively easy shot. It's kind of a B shot. So you get just a different angle, coming it down. It wasn't a great shot. It hit the rail, but it's still relatively okay. So here's I'm shooting the A, coming down again. You have to line up from the cue ball, whether it be left or right of the center. I like to do opposite of the cut, so I'm coming in from the left side, moving it over, and then just putting it inside. This is a C cut, or 45 degrees. Nice rail shot. This would be, again, this is a kind of an up and down shot, but it's still nice shots. And when you're closer to the ball, aiming for one of these lines, it just makes it a little bit easier than ghost ball. Because ghost ball, you're going to have to come back and forth, aim for it, make sure you remember where the spot is, and then shooting accordingly. So it gets to be a little tough. Straight shots, you can use the A or the B, but you should make it a point to use one of the letters. Even though it's straight, you don't really have too much angles. Still use the letters, or in this case, the letters, and figure out what's best for you. I like to use A and A. This is a 1/8 shot. As you can see, it's a deep cut. I'm just slicing it right in. Same shot, using the 1/8. So I'm hitting almost the edge of the ball, which is a nice little cut. So you look for some distance shots. This is really not a difficult shot, but you still want to hit it correctly. You want to make sure you don't foul it up. Nice B shot right there. Sometimes you get a shot like this. That was even more than 60 degrees. So you're going to have to aim for the edge of that shot to get that in. When you find a shot much deeper, just hit the edge of the ball. Aim for the edge, pivot over, and work it that way. I like to use a lot of these kind of rail shots because it gives you an idea, and maybe you could visualize it a little bit better when you see it on the video, because if I'm in front of the ball, you obviously can't see it because I'm blocking the view. So I try to make a little more rail shots. This is typically a B. When I look at it as a B, I'm letting the ball face the pocket, and I'm looking at what would it be. And sometimes you make a mistake. You might think it's a B, but it's not. And if you're looking at a 30-degree angle, but it's really 15, you could miss, or vice versa. So it's something you really have to start working on the table and checking it out. This is like a straight-up shot. A little more of an angle, which is kind of an A. These are look like a typical A shot. That was a little bit more. That was like a 1/8 going across the board. So when you're looking at this is all these shots come across. This is a B, straight, almost straight shot. You can see it's pretty much straight, but it's coming across. When you're shooting from right to left, sometimes it's the visuals, especially in the video. Sometimes you just don't see it as much as the angle it could be. So there was another B shot. You have to trust the pivot when you're working on these balls and you're looking at the aim of these shots. When you're pivoting over, your eyes may fool you and just bring you back to like a ghost ball thing. You can't let the eyes fool you. You have to use the pivot and trust it. So when you're aiming at one of these lines, that's the biggest hurdle, is to try to trust the pivot, because the pivot does work. If you have the right angle and you're using the right line, there's no reason why it would miss. It's almost like fixed. There's a C. See, I'm aiming for the C. And if you, like I said, if you're aiming for the C and you're pivoting over correctly, it should go in. All right, so I went to a small table. This is a 7-footer, and CTE works with, it's aiming is aiming, so it's going to work with any table. So if you're playing in a league and you're using a bar table, it's basically the same. So I like to say this is a B, going straight down the line, pivoting over. Yeah, hit the rail, but it's still winning. This is a nice cut. The cue ball is pretty much parallel to the side pockets, and that red ball is on both lines. So it's nice. It's a nice slice. This would be a 1/8 shot. And these again, straight up and down shots. This is like I said, it's not a difficult shot even if you don't use CTE. So I like to use it. Look, CTE is just another trick in your bag of tricks. So if you're using, let's say you're using ghost ball 50% of the time or more, then it's nice to have CTE to come in to help you out when there's a difficult shot. Because if you aim for those lines, or even a 1/8 marker, you're going to get it in. So I'm pointing out, I'm aiming for the A from the right side of that cue ball, moving it over to the center. And then shoot. There's a very similar shot. This is actually, I think this is a touch of inside. This is a strange thing. Now, touch of inside means the cue ball is broken up to 3 lines on both sides. So if it's a half a tip, it's like a tip is 1 line, 2 tips is 2 lines, 3 tips is, in other words, 3 tips is 3 lines. So if you have a deep cut like that, that's like 3 or 4 lines on the, and you're aiming only on the cue ball side, not on the object ball side. So you bring your stick almost to the left side of that cue ball and then hit it in. It's a strange system. I would say it works a good number of times. Whether it's something I would change for CT, probably doubt it, but it's pretty good. See, I'm changing the ball just to give you an idea of the lines. So when I look at that ball, I'm looking at the 9 A, B, and C. It looks to me like it's a B. Maybe it's a C. See, it's kind of like sometimes you have to really read it and say, hey, what is this? This is a B shot or a C shot? And that means 30 or 40 degrees. See, I little tipped a little, probably too hard to be honest, but it didn't go in. So you have to kind of figure out what really was that. So I have to kind of reconfigure and say maybe it's actually not a B shot. Maybe it's a C. So I'll aim for the C instead. And there you go. This is a shot. This is the TOI method. I just wanted to show that this thing is really red. So this is a 1 line over. In other words, I'm moving the cue ball. I'm just aiming for that ball right to the center, but I'm putting my stick 1 line over on the cue ball to the left, and it goes. If it's a basic cut, like this, let's say it's 15%, 1 line over. This is TOI, and it goes very fast because you're just aiming on the cue ball. You're not even aiming at the object ball at all. It's 1 line over on the cue ball. I'm hitting it on the opposite side, so it's 1 line over on the right side of the center of the cue ball. The cue ball is divided like in the middle. So if it's a cut to the left, obviously you're gonna put 1 line over on the right side, and vice versa. And you can hit shots like that. That's 3 lines over, probably 3 lines over on the left side of that cue ball to get it in. Now CTE allows you to do this stuff. If it's a deep cut, you hit it on the, let's say the C. If it's very deep, you could hit it on the 1/8 or even on the edge. And you should practice that. So I set up these balls to show you again the TOI method. It's very interesting. You know, you could try it out if it's kind of like just to try something different. Like I don't promote it, I haven't read too much about it, but I thought I'd use it. I did of course watch it, and if you want to check it out, go check out CJ Wiley, and it's Touch of Inside. There actually is a book that was written years ago, Billiards Accuracy, who I think it's by Chen, who actually developed this system. So I'm hitting it, I'm aiming for that, cue ball's aiming for the center of that 15, but I'm putting 1 tip English on the left side. So it's just a strange thing because you're not aiming at the object ball anywhere. You're only aiming at the cue. 1 tip. Yeah, it was a little off. One tip over to the left. Like I said, if you want to have some fun and try this stuff, it kind of works. I mean, the whole idea when you work with these things is working on the position side of things. Shot making is great, but you still got to get the position. So there you have it, and that's that side of it. Here's another, again, this is probably also a C, which is that's a nice way of cutting things in. This is a very deep cut, 1/8. Almost scratched it. This is probably hitting the edge of the ball, and you're banking it. Why this goes in, I have no idea, but it works. So practice those as well. So I put the ball in the middle of the table again. And these are some regular basic shots that I've done before, but it's nice to, you know, keep on practicing this kind of stuff. Anyway, if you like this video, I appreciate you coming back. Of course, you could subscribe, and you keep on practicing. The CTE, at the beginning, it could frustrate the hell out of you, but after a while, it becomes second nature, and then you use it as a regular system. Try the TOI. It's nice. It's a nice system. A little crazy, but it does work. And I'll see you on the next video. So take care. And again, subscribe. Oh, I scratched.